This one's for the boys.
This one's for the boys.
All right, guys. Well, have a good night. I'm going to be getting off then, but I'll talk to you tomorrow.
It's been real. Jake, did you actually watch this movie?
Totally, dude.
God damn it.
Did you really not?
What?
damn
No,
it.
I totally watched it, like 100%. 100%ed it, like the whole thing.
Don't like this.
Jake read the DB page for that, and that's it.
Well, it's like
I mean-
Cobra Kai. I could tell that you clearly didn't watch it, but this one I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, all I can say is quite a twist at the end.
God damn you. God damn you. Jake.
I'll wait until everyone else is in here.
God
I
damn
want to.
it.
I want to save what I have to say.
What is...
All right, so now
Yeah.
it'll mute me when I hit the space bar. That's good.
Oh, so yo, Zach, I went to McDonald's today, and I tried that mighty
Spicy
hot
nugs?
sauce or whatever.
It's really sweet, but it definitely is hot.
It was good, man.
Yeah.
It was legit.
I heard people shitting on it. They're like, it's way too sweet. And it was sweet.
It tasted like a barbecue sauce.
Yeah,
kind of,
it is.
but it had a
it is
heat to
sugary.
it. I liked it. I thought it tasted great. And I didn't try that Travis Scott burger, but
Yeah, I don't
I don't think I
What is
need
the deal
to.
with the Travis
Yeah.
Scott burger. It's just like
it's a big
onion
meme
rings.
thing right now.
Well,
No,
I
no.
know that. What is on it?
Let me hit you with what's on this
bacon,
burger.
onion, lettuce on a quarter pounder.
That was me who said that.
That was Jake.
Thank you, Jake. It's just bacon, onion, lettuce.
Maybe
That's why it's
tomato,
becoming. No, it's not. That's why it's such a big meme. It's because it's like this
It
Travis
sounds awful.
Scott meal, and it's just like bacon and lettuce is on there. There's already onions on a quarter pounder, so it's just he added bacon and lettuce. Really,
Well, it took a lot of stuff off. I think is
Did
what
he?
it sounds like.
Well, no,
No,
this isn't a quarter pounder.
It's not. Yeah,
You
it's
took
all the
pickles
things
off.
on a quarter pounder. It's all the things on a quarter pounder.
Oh, it still
already.
has like ketchup and whatever.
Yeah, and then it's just add lettuce and.
And
bacon.
it comes with barbecue sauce and Sprite is the drink for default.
It just comes with Sprite.
That's
It's
the
like you,
default. Yeah, that's the default
you
drink. You
don't
have
get
to order
to
otherwise.
choose. Even
He's-
if
yeah.
you have a Coke freestyle machine, they force you to take a
You're getting
Sprite.
Sprite.
Travis Scott has his own like setting on that freestyle machine, and it says Travis Scott soda, and it's just Sprite that comes out.
It's Sprite with like bacon flavoring.
Ew.
It's little specks of lettuce floating around in it.
It's like
Oh
what the
no!
fuck? It's like you did order the Travis Scott meal. It's like
Sorry.
I didn't know it was gonna have
You
lettuce
run-
and bacon in my
You
drink.
run lettuce through the Coke freestyle machine.
So
This is getting into
dropping
every
out of
other
the
drink.
nozzle.
That would be that wouldn't be too great for the machine, I think.
I'm waiting for the Big Meek to come out.
The what?
The Big Meek. Meek Mill gets in on it, and he's like, "Yeah, the Big Meek," instead of the Big
Oh my
Mac.
gosh.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is hardcore as fuck. I
It's
love
really
that.
poignant.
I'm waiting
really
for the
topical.
Lil Uzi Nugget bundle.
Oh, okay, yeah. The Denver Nuggets nugget pack. I think the mighty hot sauce would be better with the original nugs than with the spicy nugs. I kind of feel like the spicy nugs don't really need a sauce. They're pretty good on their own.
Yeah, on the sign it's like a spicy nug being dunked into a spicy sauce. It's like
That's
who the
too much,
fuck
'cause
does
this-
that?
It's hot ass sauce. The sauce does have heat to it.
Yeah, there's
McDonald's is changing the story. McDonald's ain't for no punks anymore, okay? McDonald's is hard. We're for the streets.
Yeah.
McDonald's is for the streets, baby. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. How are we all doing? How was all our Sundays?
It was good. Can't really complain.
I think Jake Demansky and I both are exhausted, to be perfectly honest with you. I think we're a little tired from our Sundays.
I'm drained.
What players you get?
Drained.
What players you guys get?
banana.
Banana. Yeah, I know.
Banana. Shit. Nobody gets Sundays anymore. Don't put me on the spot like that.
There's not like a flavor for Sundays, really.
Oh, so that's what you meant when you said Sundays. You didn't mean the day. You meant okay. You meant the frozen treat. Okay. All right.
That's a little bit of fun that we like to have and try to keep up. And that's just a little bit.
I'm a little sneak. I'm a little sneaky boy.
Absolutely. How about you, Rob? How was your Sunday?
Oh, it was good. I just spent the last hour and a half screaming at The Legend of Korra for being bad and terrible. So
yeah, more like The Legend of Bora. Boring TV shows. Yeah.
Legendary in that regard.
Get fucked on cartoon from high school.
Lazy Sunday for me though. What about anyone? I don't
Zach?
know who hasn't talked.
It's just me, I guess. Well,
how was your Sunday, Zach?
Yeah, okay. So it was a busy day at work. There's a lot of pizzas. Made a lot of pizzas. Like 37, I think, pizzas tonight from 2 to 8.
In a row?
Just total.
No, that's sorry.
Yeah.
That's
837 pizzas. What are you, Papa John's?
Yeah.
You guys remember that?
The day of reckoning is coming. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, the day of reckoning is upon us. Jesus Christ. It's like, is Papa John's QAnon? Is my question.
Where do you think Frazzle Drip took place? Inside of Papa John's house.
Little Papa John's Island.
Papa John's.
Just don't say that, Jake. Don't say Frazzle Drip one more time, or else that monster comes out of the woodwork.
I'm scared now.
Yeah, no, I mean it just might happen.
I might have said it too much.
And sometimes when I sneeze, it sounds a little bit like that, and you're gonna be like, "Did you just say?" And it's Nope, guys, don't be fooled. Do not be fooled. I didn't do it. All right, dudes. So, do we want to dive right into our topic here? Or do we want to do a little bit more?
We got a good one.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of stuff to talk about here.
I'm really interested to hear what you guys all thought.
All righty. Well, I would like to toss it to Zach first, if anybody else doesn't have anything there. Just because Zach,
let me get my notes. I'm unprepared as fuck. My notes are my own.
Well, then that's just not going to happen. Then, Rob, you got to take this. It's dead air.
Yeah. Welcome to the Buttery Mails, episode 4. Thank you for joining us, all 1, 2, 3, 7 of you. Really? We've got an awesome episode today. We have 5 of my favorite people, including myself, joined together, and we all watched quite the film. I'm hesitant to even say the title with all this stuff going on in the background right now.
Zach, just slam your mic in the car door real quick while Rob gets underway here.
much like the movie, I'm thinking of ending this introduction.
Yeah.
And I want to kick it off. We've got Jacob Boyer, Jake Demansky, Brennan Boris, Zach Mortar, and myself, Rob Marcy. How we doing, guys?
Doing great.
Good.
Pretty good. I just finished watching I'm Thinking of Ending Things for the 4th time now because I have.
Jacob, are you thinking of ending things?
Yeah,
is my question here. This is where really.
I wanted, because I didn't take notes any of the other times I watched, and I wanted to sort of have a way to sort of put all my thoughts and opinions into a concrete
fair enough
sort of list. But
I'm staring at a manifesto right now. Actually,
it's let's see how long. 1, 2, 3.
He's been taking notes.
It was 5 pages long.
I could not.
And it's still not enough.
Notes.
Yeah.
I could not take that many notes because I spent so much time on Google looking up quantum entanglement.
Wait, what?
I had to rewatch 30 minutes of this movie because I got lost in a Google rabbit hole about quantum theory because of this movie.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
So that's Charlie Kaufman for you.
This really felt like this is his second movie that he's written and directed since Synecdoche.
So Synecdoche was his first. So for anyone who doesn't know, Charlie Kaufman is my favorite screenwriter. He's also responsible for my favorite movie of all time, Synecdoche, New York. But people more famously know him as the person who wrote Being John Malkovich, Adaptation, and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So he was like really, really big in the late 90s to like mid 2000s or so. And then he made Synecdoche, New York, and then he kind of disappeared for a while. And he made a stop motion animated movie in 2015 called Anomalisa, which was also amazing. Everyone should check that out. But he's kind of been like absent from Hollywood in the past like 10 or so years. And this is, I guess, kind of his big return, because he mentioned in all the press that he did for this movie, his like big return to directing. He listed some projects he's working on. He's writing something about like dreams and nightmares for Ryan Gosling's production company, which I'm really looking forward to, because he hasn't said anything about what that's supposed to be about. But yeah, so Charlie Kaufman is sort of known for doing these really weird, surreal, metaphorical, like nothing's based in reality type movies. And it's based off of a book that is also sort of very, very surreal and very, very strange. So it's really just the perfect storm for him to take on this source material. Excuse me.
So Jacob, you Jesus, you read the book.
Yes, I read the book back in I read the book back in about May or so, because I heard that he was going to be making a movie, and I wanted to kind of be familiar with the source material going into it.
So Jacob, you've been thinking of ending things for a while now.
Yeah, well, there we go.
I just find it funny, though, if I can get a little dark, that I read this. That, for those who don't know, the book is written from this perspective of this woman who's been dating a guy named Jake for a while, and most of her internal monologue is how she's thinking of ending things, quote unquote, breaking up with Jake. And I find it kind of cosmically funny at this point, looking back on it, that I finished reading that book like within a week or two of my last relationship ending. So
yeah,
yeah. So that book might not have. Okay.
Yeah. That one hit a little close to home, but no, I do really. My personal bullshit aside, I really loved the book, and I was really, really looking forward to how, like, what kind of spin Charlie Kaufman was going to put on it, because we've seen him handle other people's source material before with adaptation, which is one of the wildest fucking movies I've ever seen, and I love it, and it's hilarious. Rob, I know you really like that one a lot. I don't know who else in this group has seen it.
Adaptation's good.
Well, I think because like Being John Malkovich is my entry point for him as a like writer and filmmaker. And I'm not even a huge fan of Being John Malkovich, but Adaptation really blew my mind. Really, if you haven't seen Adaptation really made me go like, wow, this guy is profound in a galactic way. Like, I feel like our the last two episodes we've kind of gotten on this like galactic size crisis kick, but
yeah,
truly,
absolutely.
like, this
is how
a
big
guy,
Buttery Males is, man. That's just how big we are.
We're
constantly
so
tackling
big.
things bigger than ourselves.
I mean, he is an author. I don't want to get ahead of myself because I have it in my notes, but I like really saw some parallels to the like H.P. Lovecraft of it all we were talking about last week, with just this indescribable universal thing that I loved. Like I said, I like might have gone too deep into this movie, but
I don't think there is such a thing as going too deep with Charlie Kaufman.
So my personal my first note on the movie is that smart people are really fucking annoying. Like, I did not want to be in a car with these two for very long. And so let me just say this.
Kind of the point,
we were in the car for
it's meant to be awkward.
I understand that, but then we got to like the hellish Eraserhead dinner scene, and I was like, do I leave the dinner scene, or do I don't want to be stuck in the fucking car with these people again. I guess I'll stay in this house. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Down.
What'd you say?
Well, the dinner scene shit starts to like start happening. Things starts things start
Oh
unraveling.
no! Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the movie. I did appreciate it for what it was. And you're right. I think part of it is like these people are kind of insufferable. Like that might be kind of part of it. And like
Right.
I definitely saw parts in myself, unfortunately, in the Jesse Plemons character where I was like, well, let's knock that shit out. Let's stop correcting everybody all the time. Like, let's cut that out immediately. But yeah, I don't know. Jesse Plemons got a sick mustache. So that's about
Jesse
end of
Plemons
notes.
is. You said it. The article or the review of this that you read that was like
What do people see? Yeah.
I see so much in Jesse Plemons. Like I really,
he is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in this movie. In this movie, he really is just phenomenal.
He's like kind of the king of like understated performances. Like Todd in Breaking Bad being his like opening performance for a lot of people is just like this low down kind of played back kind of thing. I think in the article I read, one of the things that they talked to him about is like, yeah, I think people, my whole thing is I don't want people to see me acting. I know that's kind of a trite thing to say, but his whole thing is like, I don't want there to be a false note. And every time I see Jesse Plemons, another movie I really love him in is called Other People with him and Molly Shannon. And it's like one of the best, like just drama comedies that I've seen in a while that like right off the bat is like, here's heartbreak is coming. You know it's coming. We're not going to dick you around, but here's the fucking anyway, let me get away from that. Just say, I really fucking like Jesse Plemons. And I think as a guy who does like understated, really naturalistic roles, this is like him really throwing it away. Like it's in much in the way that Jim Carrey had to like throw away every line almost for Eternal Sunshine because he's this over the top guy and everything like that. Yeah. But it's almost more impressive or like weirder for me with Jesse Plemons because it's like the color change is smaller, but it's almost more significant in its subtlety. Maybe that's nothing.
Well, I wanted to just say, not to like break your point. I just wanted to say for anyone listening, you know, our 9 viewers or whatever, this is a movie like we as the Buttery Males podcast might have an issue with movies with like actively walking our listeners through them. This is a movie that might be very hard to walk you through the story. So if we jump
incredibly.
around, I just wanted to say, if we're jumping around on this episode, it's not the same as like The Color Out of Space, which we just did a bad job of kind of walking people through. But with Jesse Plemons, I just wanted to say, like, remember when Star Wars Episode 7 was first announced, and for like a year, everyone thought he was going to be Luke Skywalker's son, and and you were going to the Jesse Plemons looking at 2 suns over the desert horizon.
I mean, yes, like, give me that.
Isn't that such a lovely image?
And his dick is a lightsaber.
Yes.
Yes. Give it to me. Ugh.
Brennan, I agree with you. Smart people are annoying as fuck because you really feel a lot of like, oh, Jesse Plemons is a guy who just corrects people. Like he will not give it up. And he will correct you. And he will make you correct yourself in front of him, which I hated.
So I have a question. Maybe I don't want to skip ahead or anything like that, but we're talking. The dinner scene is for me. That's like the big part of the movie. Is what I was watching it. I was like, this is very. And I don't want to say it in a way that is reductive of Charlie Kaufman. And I've also, Rob and I just finished Twin Peaks. So I have just had David Lynch on the brain for a while. But when I was watching it, I was like, this is very Eraserhead, very Lynchian in general in its dreamlike ability. But it's very different. Charlie Kaufman's a very different way of doing it. And it's much more melancholy. And like, I don't even really know how to like, it's just, it's bizarre, whereas like Lynch is maybe like extremely off-putting. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's vice versa. But that scene really fucked with me in a lot of ways, and I loved it. I really did. But I was like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Also, if you notice, just a really small aside, but one thing that I love about that scene, if you notice, nobody ever eats anything in the entire scene. When the dinner scene's finally over and Jesse Buckley gets up and takes everyone's plates to the kitchen, it's like all the food on the table is untouched, and all of their plates are still
any of that.
covered in food.
Oh my god! Like
that pig story, and then just looking at the ham, like, yeah,
Oh,
one of my
sad.
notes
God,
is like,
yeah.
no,
So
here comes
upsetting.
the maggots. Like, I was just waiting for the maggots to come back the entire
Yeah.
fucking movie, which they do.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean,
That's
In
my
like the
like-
most amazing way.
Yes,
I-
that's-
yeah,
that
I think-
like 2 minutes of towards the end is my favorite part in the entire
Yeah.
movie. I love that
In
so
my-
much.
I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but in my notes, I have that scene in the movie is the whole movie. Is what
Yeah.
the whole movie should be.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of just jumped in. I brought up the maggots, but like,
Mhm.
yeah, there's just like a scene where like, I guess Jesse Plemons' character Jake telling Jesse Buckley, what's her name, Lucy, or it's a bunch of names in the
It's
movie.
young
Yeah, her
woman.
name
Is like
It changes. Yeah, she's credited as
Yeah.
young woman. In the book, she doesn't get a name at all, and in the
Her
movie, her
subtitle
name is
was a young
constantly
woman.
changing.
Like
yeah,
Louisa, Lucy, Ames, like it's
Yvonne.
like all over the fucking
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
But he's telling her this story like about like how like, you know, it's rough on the farm. His parents live on a farm and not everything's pretty, and describes like these pigs being sick, and like it turns out they've been getting like eaten alive by maggots, like and
Mhm.
and they're like not moving. It's
Yeah,
so like
yeah, no, even you
that
doing that right
happens,
now.
and then
yeah.
there's like this lingering like darkness, like, and it's like, just,
yeah.
and then the dinner scene comes up, and the mom, Jesse Clemens, his mom in the
Toni
movie,
Collette.
like, yeah, she says everything is from the farm that's on the table.
Zoomed in on the
Oh my
hand.
God.
So
Well,
I-
life is rough on the farm. You are.
yeah, yeah. I had a
and I
question.
also
Oh,
want
yeah.
to say, just David Thewlis is the dad, which
Yeah.
is
So he.
so good.
Thank you for pointing that out, Rob. My initial go-to when I saw David Thewlis, when I saw that there's a Border Collie, I went Border Collie alert, and then when I saw David Thewlis, I went Thewlis alert, and I was so happy David Thewlis was in it. And clearly, Charlie Kaufman is a fan of the Fargo TV show because Jesse
Yeah.
Plemons is like the star of season 2.
Mhm.
David Thewlis is like the bad guy in season 3, and the main actress in this is going to be in season 4 of Fargo.
I've seen
Like,
there's
there's-
ads of it, and I'm like, yep, he's
I-
all about Fargo.
yeah, so I love that.
And David Thewlis was also the lead role in Anomalisa, his
Oh,
last
that's
movie. As
that's
well.
right. Yes,
So
yes.
there's a bit of a connection there.
And David Thewlis in Fargo is like one of the greatest performances.
Such a
of all
fun
time.
villain.
As a
Scene-chewing
villain, yeah, it's like one of the best villains in the history of the world.
And so he's got David Thewlis in general. Maybe it's just because he's a British guy or whatever he is. And it's just the way he says shit and the way he looks is so funny. But I have a line here from what I believe is the dinner table scene where he just is talking about a movie he saw, and he goes, "Yeah, and Billy Crystal is a Nazi," and he nods his head, nods his head, and like raises his eyebrow, like right, and it's like so fucking good.
I have that in my notes too. Yeah,
Me as well. I also
Okay.
that at that exact point though was like when I was weirdly comforted in this goddamn movie. Like there was all this like build up, and I'm scared as shit watching this movie. Like it, like a dream. It could go wrong any fucking second.
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah,
when
yeah.
he said this like little break or whatever, I was like, okay, like something scary could happen, but that was nice. Like thank God.
So did you guys come into this with the expectation of it being sort of a scary movie, or did you just get that vibe?
I
As you
got
were
the
watching
vibe.
it?
I
No,
also
got
like,
the vibe. I had no idea.
expectations.
so I just want to say that
The other being a
King
horror
thing,
movie,
I just
or
want-
Okay.
horror-esque movie.
I love that. I love that so much.
I just
Because the book is very much the book is that's what I didn't really like about it, is because the book is sort of marketed as like a horror thriller, and it works very well as a horror thriller, but the trailer especially really plays it up as like this sort of Get Out-esque like horror thing, where it's like we're gonna go to this farm and something really fucked up is gonna happen on this farm, but that's not really what it's about. I love the trailer for the movie, but I feel like it lied a little bit. So I'm glad that you guys got that vibe sort of from the movie rather than
Zach, did you
going into it.
Zach, did you just say Stephen King? Is that what you said?
It felt like a Stephen King, like, universe shifting thing,
I
watching through.
I would totally agree with
Yeah,
that.
like things weren't right. You're like that detail is different. Like something changed here. And it's
Really effective when they would do
Yeah,
that. Really
And
effective.
there was a
It was
lot of
really
there
good.
was a
Something as
lot
simple
of,
as something as
the
simple as their
dress color.
wardrobe. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
even smaller than that, there's literally a single shot after the dinner scene where Jesse Plemons and Jesse Buckley are looking at the pictures on the wall. There's one shot where she has a pearl necklace, and then the next shot she doesn't have it, and that necklace is only in that one shot.
Yeah,
I love
it's-
little
I
things
wanted
like
to
that.
say she changes her sweater throughout the movie. It
Mhm.
goes from being a
Yeah.
bright orange in the car in the beginning to like pink, and then it starts getting duller and duller as it goes through the whole movie.
Oh, you're right. I didn't even
Yeah.
think about
It's
that.
just
That's
like
really
it starts subtle like that, but then towards the end, it's just so much. It's just so.
Things
It's
are
like
rapid.
there's a little. It's like driplets in the beginning, and then it's a fucking dam broken down at the end, where everything is just like shifting. Nothing is concrete anymore, and everything
Well,
is a dream.
I want
I just-
to say like I didn't know that this was listen, going into this, I thought that this movie was apparently the story of Aunt Kind. Jacob,
No,
you
I'm
explained Aunt
sorry.
Kind the other week, and I got it mixed up in my head. So I had no expectations going into this, right? And
Mhm.
when
like there's gonna be some ants appearing soon, right?
yeah, right, exactly.
when he's
Blue
talking about
Velvet.
when he's talking about the maggots and they zoom in on that spot, we just push in really tight, and the movie suddenly becomes
Tons
about
of
ants.
It's a
Oh,
bug.
there's the ants. They're under the maggots. Look.
Oh my God.
Aunt Kind is the prequel to A Bug's Life. No, the one thing I want to, it's weird that this is marketed as like a thriller horror type thing, because there's the scene where they like have the basement door be a whole thing, but
That was
by
scary.
the end of this
yeah.
movie, I felt a weird level of like comfort and closure. Like a weird level of like nothing is wrong with this moment, you know?
Yeah.
So
Not many movies leave you feel like maybe it's just me. I felt so I want to say fulfilled by the end of this.
And
especially
the fact
No,
that
you
you
go ahead,
thought that the fact that you thought that, I don't want to spoil it just yet, because I don't know how many of us actually know what was supposed to be happening, but the fact that you were comforted by the ending is dark in and of its own.
Yeah, can I take a guess at that? The reason
we can't
that's so
spoil the ending yet.
Oh, okay.
Well, what I want to do is
still want to touch on the early
You're right,
car
you're right.
scene.
You're absolutely right.
okay,
well,
yeah.
it's comforting like the way hypothermia is comforting. I think is
Yeah,
maybe
which is
what
we
you're
gotta come.
getting.
kind
We
of
gotta
the
come.
same.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. All right, Zach. The opening car scene. Yes.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, with the car scene, as they're going on and on about how rabies affects the neurons in your brain and slowly changes you to become it. It's just going on these themes of like just being a parasite, and then my notes. There we go. Pigs. The pigs with the maggots. That's also like another thing of parasitism, where like those maggots are straight up eating it. That pig is just a host for them, and then it goes really dark. And I kind of got the assumption that those pigs are kind of the maggots are a metaphor for like all these depressive little alternate universes he's thought of and like the could have been, and that's where he's living. He's living all these could have been lives. It could have been realities, and it's subtle in the beginning, but like her career changes. She changes what she's doing and what she's a professional in so many times that like clearly he's seeing like trying them out almost like what could have been my future, but he's just this depressed dude reliving this whole just dark conversation and like the worst of and why things have been going bad. And
Well, and I actually, with this opening car scene, we've talked about the maggots already. In the opening car scene, Jesse Plemons makes a very strong argument about how all life just wants to live,
right, yeah,
and like
Yeah.
all life just
Doesn't
wants to
he?
exist.
Doesn't he make argument? Doesn't he say that some doesn't because of the ants that blow up? Doesn't she?
Oh, is he make?
Yeah,
I
no,
like
she
the-
says that.
Oh, she.
Yeah.
I apologize. She makes that argument. But then when he is expressing like the story about the maggots, I think it is like very profound for her in that moment that it's like, oh, these things that like are villainous and killed these pigs, they just want to exist. They just want their chance to live in this world. They are just this way. They just happen to be a parasitic organism.
Right.
Hmm.
That's to me was the whole like he was the pig, and they have the ending scene with the animation, and it says that I am you and we are all the same, and
Mhm.
like
Your thoughts
he-
are you. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And
You are the reason I am is
Right.
really got me.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. Like I love that so much, but and I didn't realize this until I went back and watched it. But that speech at the end is verbatim copy and pasted from the ending of Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind
So
when he's accepting the Nobel
That's
Prize.
so funny.
I saw at the end
so
of
funny.
So this is mild spoiler, but not really. Because I watched the credits through the movie because I was
Mm.
just so in shock by the movie I just seen, and so I saw the A Beautiful Mind credit, and I was like, "That's so weird."
Yeah.
And so mild spoiler: at the end of the movie, when the credits roll, you can hear the engine in the truck turn over,
Or it
just
could be, or it could be a snowplow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's that too. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the car trying to turn over as well.
Oh,
Mm.
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
But once again, there's
I
no
was
context
like,
for what we just said yet.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. We'll
Yeah.
wait till we get there. But going back on the pigs, yeah, like pigs everywhere in this movie. Like they
There's little
go
figurines
into his
all over
in
the
his
place.
bedroom. Yeah, in his bedroom,
Mhm.
there's like little
Yeah.
pig things. I just kept saying to myself every time I saw a pig, I was like, pig, pig,
So-
pig. There's another pig.
just looking at Jesse Plemons, just looking in the mirror, like, all right.
The whole movie,
You're
I'm
my
just
pig.
saying pig.
No, Jake,
but
you
like-
just had your screen turned off. It was just the reflection in your
My
room.
blue ribbon pig,
Ooh.
Jesse.
A little dumb.
Sorry, don't do it to me. Don't do
But
it.
it was weird watching this movie. It seemed like the beginning, it's like, yeah, this is about this like woman protagonist, and then it's like, wait, okay, so they kind of are becoming the same or something, and now it's like more pointed at Jesse Plemons. Like I don't know. That's how I felt. Did anyone
Can
else
I- can
feel
I-
a
can
shift
I-
like that? Is that
Well, can I
Yeah,
jump in here a
There
little
is completely
bit?
a shift like that, and there is a reason for it. But yeah, Rob, go ahead.
Well, so I got this. So there's a scene after the dinner scene where they're looking at a photograph on the wall, and I think we just
Mhm.
talked about it with the pearl necklace. And she's looking at the picture on the wall, and it's a kid. It's like a 5 or
Well,
6-year-old
it's
kid.
her.
She's like, who
Yeah.
is that? And he says,
Yeah.
can't you
Yeah.
tell? And implying that it's Jesse Plemons.
Yeah.
But then it says, no, that's me. And so I fell into this, and especially because he is a quantum physicist. At least it's like led to believe that they're both quantum physicists.
Well, their
Mhm.
job
I was
changed
led-
multiple times.
Her job
Well,
does.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't really know.
He
We
is
don't.
just a physicist.
We don't really know what Jesse Plemons does, but her job changes constantly from like a painter to a writer to a movie critic to a quantum physicist to
Right.
And
all these
well, and
different
I
things.
see. I locked it in on when she says that she's a quantum physicist. That's when Toni Collette says, "Oh, like something about like I'm so happy my son found someone as smart as you." And actually,
That keeps up with
Jesse
him
has
academically, yeah.
well, and she even says that like, oh, my Jake has told me that there's a lot of like famous physicist like couples, like married
Mhm.
couples, and
Mhm.
that's where I locked into that. But I dialed in on this thing of like quantum entanglement is this like weird thing where it's like just two particles exist together in a pair, and no matter how far away they get from each other, they can only be measured together. You can never measure them individually.
That's a really
And
good
so-
theory. I hadn't thought
And
of that.
so whole movie, like the idea that they are like the same person coming together through like, I don't want to say realities or planes of dimension or whatever. Like, I just want to say that they are two entangled particles that are as close as they could possibly be right now. And yet they're so close together, but they still can only be judged by the sum of their parts together, And so they're
Okay.
going back and that's where I like
That's what's
really got
up.
lost.
Yeah.
that really, when I fell into that rabbit hole, and the reason I went 30 minutes back, I rewound the movie to make sure I didn't miss the part that I like really just got lost in my phone, like reading about quantum entanglement. It really left me on this like just totally different level with the movie, because the beginning car ride through the through the dinner scene is challenging. And Jacob, Jacob, you more than anyone, you only recommend challenging movies to me. You're the only person who truly challenges me with movies, and I really went and like I really took this one and ran with it. I gotta say.
I think you
Rob,
definitely
I showed
did,
you
yeah.
the lighthouse one time and you got mad at me, all right? You were so mad when I showed you the lighthouse.
We should definitely talk about the light. We should have an episode where we talk about that's another movie I could talk about for ages.
Yeah, the lighthouse would be
So,
absolutely
I would not to what I like Rob's theory there. For me, it's one of those things where it's like when I was watching it, I was just kind of letting it wash over me, and I was really kind of wrapped up more into like, in a way, it reminded me a lot of Midsummer, because it was this building dread of like the true horror here is being in a relationship that you don't want to be in it. And like for me, I was like, this is just Charlie Kaufman's, just the same way he did like Synecdoche, New York, or the way he does Adaptation, where it's like I'm dealing with like a real thing, but I'm just throwing my Kaufman whole, bizarre thing at it. That's exactly what I took the movie.
He is a weirdly profound take on love.
Yeah, I didn't try grasping at the strings of like, what does it all mean? I was just more so, as Rob and I have been talking about recently, it was just like, what is the vibe I'm vibing with right now? Like, what am I grabbing onto as far as like my feelings? I don't really need the whole connective thread. And with that, I think at one point somebody said, or it might have been Jake Demansky, you said it was kind of like, once the movie kind of starts, it doesn't really stop. And I kind of felt like once you leave, you get these little brief pauses, though. And the brief pauses where we're like, the brief pauses of normalcy, and I think you might have said that's what were like comforting to you early on. That's what was fucking me up the most, because I was like, I felt like I was being asked to then do work and grab onto something. And I was like, no, I was kind of cool with just like the weird shit going in front of my eyes and like just processing it that way.
When you say pockets of normalcy, though, can you give me an example of one?
It's so hard because they quickly morph into these weird pockets of like abnormal, and also these two characters are not fucking what I would consider normal. And anyway, so like it's this weird thing where like the base level normal for them is just obnoxious to me, and I can't stand it. But I would consider like the opening, going in the car and everything like that. That's all normal as far as I was concerned. Like I wasn't. I was just like, this is just two people kind of being insufferable in a car, together. And I was also like, I'll be real. That opening, I was really kind of just focused on like, at one point she was like, I don't know if this is like fair to do to him. And I was like, yeah, it's not fair to do to him. Don't fucking do it. If you don't think you're going to stay with this dude, don't go meet his parents. And I don't know, that whole thing.
I think I've got a good one. When they first show up to their parents' house and they get out of the car, they see the mom. They see Toni Collette, the mom, waving in the window,
and they can't find her.
For a split second, you're like, "Oh, good, normalcy. The mom is normal," and then it's like, "Oh no, the mom has been waving for 30 seconds."
It honestly still didn't click.
That fucked me up. That fucked me up because like I think
Toni
like
Collette
hereditary
is just,
vibes.
yeah, she's just
because
at the
it
point
is her
where
as well.
She's really good.
That's
at
the
just
other
playing
thing,
a crazy mom.
Well, I didn't realize it was Toni Collette that was waving, and I just thought it was like a quirky moment. But then when I saw it was Toni Collette as the mom, I was just like, oh, oh god, Toni Collette, no.
This
awesome.
movie had another movie that is just like a great cast. Like you can just benefit so much from just having good actual actors. I loved everyone in this movie.
There's a great scene in the movie that it was like one of those things where I was like, you see these scenes in movies where it's like sometimes it's like, okay, so that's just a character saying what I, the audience, am blatantly feeling right now. And there's a moment where just a very, for lack of a better word, like dazed David Thewlis just goes, I'm very confused.
Yeah.
And it made me laugh so fucking hard because I was like, me too, dude. Me too.
Well, and yeah, David Thewlis delivers some of the best lines in this entire movie.
Among my favorites are won't imagine you'd be doing any fucking in this bed.
Child's beds aren't made for fucking.
That ain't made for fucking. That's in my notes.
Yeah, child's bed is
Not
a note
for
I
two
have as well.
children, just one.
Yeah. Children don't do much fucking. It's just really Oh, so on that,
Notes at a
I
certain
have listed
point,
down
my
when-
notes at a certain point did just become what
About
Thewlis
is
quotes.
David Thewlis saying. Yeah.
So does he take on a Scottish accent when he gets older? Is he like, because maybe that's like part of
I
the
think he
whole
goes-
things
I
are
think he-
changing.
He definitely goes deeper. He definitely goes way deeper.
In the child's
into
bed
voice.
scene, I was like, that is a bro right there, or like whatever you call that. Oh, speaking of just like voices changing as people got older,
Tony Collette.
Well, Tony Collette, yes, but
Yeah.
Jesse Plemons towards the end is straight up doing Brian Cox. I swear to God, he's like doing a very
Or-
sad Brian Cox.
Or John Nash from A Beautiful Mind.
Oh, that's what he's. Oh my God, he's doing Russell Crowe.
Well,
Okay.
my regions.
Oh, I mistook what you were saying there. God damn, that's so good.
So again on the car scene, she's quoting.
I like how we still haven't left the opening car
It's
scene.
just-
That's how the whole movie
We need to get
feels.
past
The way,
this car
the way
scene.
the audience feels right
In
now
the
listening to
car,
this
a lot
is
of
like.
cars.
But this touches back on how at least how I felt about the movie. She quotes Anna Karenina, the Tolstoy book,
Mhm.
and the quote is, "Happy families are all alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way," which is the only sentence I've ever read of that book. But I recognized it and was like, "Oh, I'm going to take note of that." And then towards the end of the movie, that actually makes sense to me towards the way like I thought of it shaking out. And are we at the point where we are moving past the beginning that I can say?
If we want, yeah.
All right. My only other note on the actual, not the car scene, but when they're in the house, I wrote these parents fuck because the mom's going, yeah, he's not a
These
ghost yet,
parents
not in the
fuck.
bedroom. They fuck. That's canon.
If you were
Um,
living with David
That's
Thewlis, would you
canon.
not fuck? I mean,
Canonized like the Pope. That is canon.
They be
talk-
fucking.
Can we talk about the movie within a movie that is just an ultimate slam on Robert Zemeckis?
Oh my God, yeah.
That shit had me dead. But also, I mean, that actress then pops up later in the movie at a
Mhm.
very interesting scene too, which is like another reality kind of bleeding moment.
Yeah.
Once again, a moment where I was like, they're doing something here. No idea what it is, but they're doing something. Like,
Oh, and used his name used with permission. By the way, Charlie Kaufman called him up and said, "Hey, do you mind if I make fun of you? Here's what the scene is." And Rob
That's
Zombie was
awesome.
like, go for it.
yeah, that's great. Okay.
But I love that scene so much. She wants to be an animal rights lawyer.
Yeah, they'll start clapping.
Did you just say you loved me?
Idiot.
You got her fired, and it's like that's like so the way those movies are. It's like, all right, hold on.
Broke through her tough out of shell though. She loved it.
Jacob,
Well,
did
I want everyone to just picture me looking up if that was a real movie or not. Just for a second.
That guaranteed was not.
No,
Yeah,
it was not.
I was just like this. I was like, oh, this could be. I was like, this guy's got me by the balls right
Yeah.
now. I don't know what to think.
up is down. Jacob, did you relate pretty hardcore to The Thing being like the one movie prominently on displayed in that guy's room?
Also, They Live, which
Oh, he's just a
Uh,
Carpenter fan.
and the reason why I put the A Beautiful Mind thing together is the DVD is also at the very top of that
Mm.
stack of books
Oh,
opened. So
that's great.
that's
Another,
but yeah, no, yeah.
I'm sorry. A thing in his room that I saw that really stuck out to me, urn with a picture of his dog and the dog's
Yeah.
name. Like
Yeah.
his dog is dead, and which then feeds into again my theory here, where that like
Everything's shaken in this movie.
Yeah,
Go on.
but-
I'm sorry,
yeah.
but
That was
no,
that
yeah,
that
that's my
was
theory. But
the one thing that I always get scared of when I even with Charlie, like to a lesser extent with Charlie Kaufman, because I've gotten to the point where I kind of trust him, where if there's something weird that doesn't quite make sense in his movies, I can assume that there is a reason for it, and it's not just
Right.
thrown in there
It's on
for
purpose.
the sake of like weirdness to be like, what does it mean? But
Mhm.
the dog was legitimately something that took me a long time to like figure out what they were trying to do. But with the whole it constantly like shaking
Yeah.
But
thing,
it's not like a real dog in those moments either. It looks like a
Yeah.
fake
It's
dog.
just shaking itself
Yeah.
off. That's all it does is dry itself off after coming in from the rain every time, or from the snow, I guess.
Yeah.
That's all you see that dog do ever.
and that's why I watched it 4 times, because on the 4th time
The
I
dog
was
was
like,
what was doing it for you?
I
The
was
dog
like-
is-
Well, she just says, like, you're shivering. Like, why are you so cold? Because he's
Yeah.
constantly just stuck in this loop of coming in from outside in the snow or something.
Mhm.
Like,
Jesus.
the only other thing that I still can't quite figure out, and it might not be as complicated as I thought, is Toni Collette has a line where she comes down the steps and she's young all of a sudden, and she says, I tell you, I'd misplace my own head if it wasn't screwed onto my own head. Like, I still can't quite get what that was getting at, but again,
Yeah.
I guess
Well,
I need to
that's
watch it a
actually
fifth time.
that's the that.
Or maybe
she
you
says
guys
a-
know what it is.
Are you talking about?
I
when
remember
she,
I just
when she tells the main character to wash the nightgown. Is that what
Yeah.
you're talking about?
Yeah,
Live
she comes down.
dangerously.
Yeah.
In like
Oh
a
my
weird
God.
Spill on it out of
1960s,
nowhere.
like
So good.
homemaker outfit.
So good.
Yeah.
Live dangerously. Go in the basement. Wash
Well,
the
This
Yeah,
is, this is
yeah.
after
Just
this is after
saying.
we've
Don't
just seen
listen to
Toni
him.
Collette as like a decrepit old woman, and now
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
like from the
Back.
1950s, like a
Mhm.
waitress. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and like weirdly, like on 1950s on Xanax house mom, who's like being like, "Girl, rise above the male fucking authority and go in that basement."
She's like never read any feminist like literature, but she saw a picture of Rosie the Riveter and was like, "Yeah, that's what it is."
We can do
Wait,
this.
so, like,
Cops for more Xanax.
I'm
No.
gonna get a bandana.
She's
What?
She'd be popping Adderall. She not be zooted. But anyway, is this movie like just like with quantum entanglement? I didn't just see that as like the whoever Jesse Buckley and Jesse Clemens. Like I didn't see the entanglement just there. It felt like the parents were them. It felt like they were all cycling into each other, and they
Yes.
said it in the movie. Like everything is
Totally.
everything. It's
Yeah.
all like
Well, you
this big
become your
cycle.
parents.
Yeah,
Well,
like
And the
Well,
pigs.
I was-
And you become your maggot-infested pigs.
I actually had a thought. Actually, because I mean, I guess I want to say just massive spoiler alert and like give
Okay.
everyone a
We're
couple
getting there,
seconds
yeah,
because
we're
I
getting
have
there.
a theory.
Well,
Yeah,
actually,
I'm
spoiler
interested
alert.
on your theory.
Really quick, can we just, but before we get into spoilers, and Rob, I'll let you go first, but what I kind of want to do is I want to go down the line and get sort of what each of you thought the movie meant, or what it was trying to say, and what the ultimate, like, 1 or 2 sentence message of the movie
Okay, yeah,
was.
totally.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Rob, you go first with what you were saying.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much I can condense it down to two, but what I want to say is I pretty quickly in the beginning, I realized that we're following this janitor character. And maybe I don't want to say I realized because it's just my theory, but I came to the conclusion, like within the first 10 minutes,
Mhm.
that the janitor was Jesse Plemons.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
And-
Because it
and-
flicks back so much.
Mhm.
And that felt very synecdoche too.
And,
Yeah.
That
and
was
Alzheimer's and dementia is a prevailing theme with his parents in this movie, and which is a genetic thing. And like for me, I had a parent who had dementia. I know that it's a genetic thing, you know.
Mhm.
I saw it as this thing where it's like as his girlfriend is cycling through this idea of like, what if I don't end things and I just keep saying yes? That means that we just keep coming back to this house over and over again,
Mhm.
which is why
Reliving
we
that.
see
Yeah.
and that's the parents get older every year, and it's the same awkward dinner, it's the same awful thing, you know, and it just the problems get worse and worse.
Mhm.
And with that, you have this janitor character who is clearly walking through life in this high school, just kind of seeing reminiscent things and being like, oh, I like recognize that, but I don't know why.
Mhm.
And by the end of it, when they get to the high school and the janitor is just there, it kind of like clicks all into place where it's like, oh, he is fully Alzheimer, like just full dementia at this point. And so he is having these flashbacks over and over and over again of real things that did happen, and he is just stuck. He is like stuck in this cycle. That's where I like landed on. If we're talking about like a theory crafting real thing.
Okay.
Mine's really similar. Mine's very similar. My theory is that these are the dying moments of a man who was thinking of ending things. That was, ironically enough, we were thinking of doing this episode with it out cold as the other movie, and we were joking around with that movie title.
Forgot
And
to
we made
watch
this
it.
joke that it's cold out, and I'm thinking of ending things, and that is kind of where this actually goes, because I think these are twisted memories he had or delusions he had of memories that he thought he had, and these are his dying moments in confusion of suicide. That he was this depressed janitor who lived with his parents, saw them age and die in this terrible fashion, and like all he did his whole life was live on a farm and didn't get the girl. And there's this scene where they're at the school and you see the girl talking to the janitor trying to find him, and she like talks shit on the guy basically.
Yeah.
I think that was like a memory he had of that girl doing that to him, and so he made up all these like, oh, maybe if she came to my parents it would have been awkward, but maybe it would have worked out. And even then, in his depressed memories, he can't find a situation where it does work out, and that is all his dark, like twisted versions of how he thinks it could have gone. And that's what I was thinking
it's
about.
like kind of like Joker, where it's like him and the girl weren't actually together. He just was
right,
dreaming.
like she didn't exist in this reality. She was just made up memories that he had. That maybe the scene where she's shit talking the janitor, he overheard as a kid or something and was like, "Oh, she doesn't like me. Oh, I'm a loser." And that started this depression. And he never went out, and like he never did anything, and just eventually became the janitor for the school. He talks about seeing the kids all the time, and he sees them around town and sees they're living the same, like they're not doing anything either. Like they're gonna fall, like they're gonna just be like me, and I'm, just wasting away, getting eaten by these maggots, and like the rabies are taking over my brain. All the parasitism, yeah, getting fat as hell, baby.
Dude, that ass though, when he steps out of that car, I was like, damn. Also,
My boy thick.
Well, another part of this movie where I was like, so and so is dummy thick is when he's having his hallucination of the what's it called? The fucking cartoon ice cream thing.
Yes,
And then the ice cream lady
Dummy.
is just like, she got a dumper on her.
dripping
What's
with
going
that.
on?
Hell yeah.
Like,
Let me lick that cone, girl.
give me that Mewtwo pussy. Come on now. I'm all about it.
How
Dummy
much
thick.
can you shit out of that thing?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Give me that soft
yes.
serve. Give me crank it out,
Double-
baby.
Ugh. I want you to poop on me.
Tom
Anyway.
Likens. Let's talk about some bitches.
It's just gonna apologize to the
ultimate-
listeners
I
of
don't
20
know.
seconds of beep you're gonna have to listen to while we blur all that out.
Serving soft serve ice cream with her asshole.
Yeah. two servings of gonna make you nut quick.
I'll have the nut quick Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a good one.
Anyone
Yeah,
else have any takes on this movie before
Yeah.
Jacob goes
Jake, what about you? What did you think?
Well, I got a pretty hot take, okay?
Okay.
Like,
I'm
a
not
helmet
convinced.
on.
I'm not
I,
convinced that you watched this movie.
No,
Yeah, same.
I'll prove it right now, buddy, okay?
Wait, it's
Much,
loading. Hold on, it's loading. All right, now I'm proving it.
No. No, I
Buffering.
admittedly had a conversation with Brennan, and I said, I'll hold off on this idea until I get onto the podcast. But so let me just start by saying there's a scene in this movie after the visitation to the parents' house where they go to that Sunday place we were just talking about. What is it, Tulsi Town?
Tulsi Town.
And so they go there. They get these fucking
Tulsi
huge...
Gabbard Town.
Thick as fuck.
They get these thick as fuck Oreo burrs. And it's
to
like
the
these
top.
huge.
Up to
it's
the
like
top,
yeah,
baby.
it's a massive cup of like
You've
Oreo
seen the
sundae.
movie. You pass. You know the
Okay.
flavor and the name. Of
Yeah.
You're
So
good.
like
You
yeah,
pass.
exactly. I pass. They get this shit. Because this guy Jesse Clemens, he wants so bad to get this burr. He gets this burr and he has like 3 bites of it. He's like, nah, it's too sweet. Too sweet. We gotta find a trash can to dump this at. That is my exact reaction with this movie. This movie is dripping in meta, and like it feels like I ordered this massive fucking cup of meta, and I had like 3 bites, and I'm like, I get it. I totally get this shit. I don't need this whole fucking sundae.
Yes. At one point,
Scorching hot take.
She says something.
You would have melted your burr with that take.
She's like talking about this 2.5-hour movie. She says this 2.5-hour movie to the camera. And I looked at I was like, what? How long is this movie? I checked how long the goddamn movie was.
I did like there's parts I can take away I enjoyed, but I was exhausted. Like I told Brennan, I stopped at an hour in and I took like a 20-minute shower.
I took a nap.
Like
about an hour 40 in, I took a nap. Yeah.
I was like, this feels like, we just watched Color Out of Space. This universe is some like eldritch horror had touched this universe, and everything's a weird dream, and anything could turn at any moment. And the anxiety of that, without knowing anything, had like me on edge. And so I was just exhausted by the end. I was like, thank God, like, okay, it wasn't scary, which I thought it was going to be, like a lot of it. It never happened. But
and I love that
overall, I'm glad I watched it. But
this is just the galactic horror podcast now.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
That's my take. I'm glad I watched it. I'll honestly give it an 8 out of 10, but I don't think I want to go back to it for a bit, because it kind of like it took a bit out of me. So
okay.
All right, I just want to say 8 out of 10 is not an official ranking system we've come up with yet. So that's not technically.
Yeah, we're not like scoring
thank you, Jake.
shit on this podcast, but it's
we gotta figure out what the points.
The Doughboy system.
I want it to be out of 12.
Oh,
Rob Lowe smiles.
Out of 12.
Oh,
No.
Rob Lowe smiles.
That's recent.
Brennan,
Anyway.
I didn't want to hear about this.
Yeah, Jake and I were having this
I just-
conversation.
I just don't want to talk about this right now.
it's
Let's
fine.
not talk about
We're
this.
not.
Let's get out of
I
here.
have a question for Jacob on the book. Jacob,
Well, before we get into the book, can you hold on for that for just 1 second?
Oh, yeah.
Does anybody else have
No.
anything they
Brennan's
want to say
theory.
before like the movie's all over and everything like that?
No. So
No.
Jacob, with
So-
the swing set, what's the deal with the swing set? It's a quick one. In the very
That's
beginning,
fine. Yeah.
is there significance of that in the book?
The swing set's not in the book, no.
Okay, all right.
Charlie
so I have to
Kaufman-
rewatch it. And
Charlie Kaufman added a
So
lot
the movie's
of
apocryphal, is what you're saying.
Okay,
The movie's
all right.
apocryphal.
It definitely seems like there's a lot of like, what is this? But then it's like gone, like
Yeah.
very lost.
The
This
swing
movie
set
was comfortable the way Lost was.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh my god! All right, I'm sorry.
So-
I take that back. I'll put that in my pocket.
Sorry. No, I should have given you more, Rob. I'm sorry.
All right, what's your
Well,
theory, Brendan?
My big theory about like why we kind of find that ending with Jesse Plemons so comforting as like artsy sad boys is that he is living out every artsy sad boy creative's dream of being called smart in front of a room full of people, and then he does something really
wins the
talented
Nobel
where he
Prize.
can then act like sad while everyone is like saying you're so talented. He's like crying, like I know
he
I'm a
gets to
smart,
sing
talented guy.
Oklahoma the musical.
Like that
Yes.
is, I was like, okay, yeah, actually, that's my that's the vision that flashes before my eyes as I die. I guess I didn't realize what it was gonna be.
When he shrieks
Yeah.
out, it was all a pack of lies.
Oh,
Show
so
tune.
good.
Oh, yeah.
And then my only like closing thought on this movie is, and it's not even on the movie. It's just it is, but it isn't. Is that prior to this movie like being filmed, Brie Larson was the other lead.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Was the female lead in the movie, and I'm like, thank fucking God it's Jessie Buckley. Like
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
so
She
good
did
in this
great.
movie.
Yeah, she did
that
really
like
good.
honestly, if it was Brie Larson to me, I might not have finished the movie. I'm not a big Brie Larson fan. Like, but yeah, goddamn, Jessie Buckley is awesome, and I'm gonna keep an eye out for her in Fargo season 4.
Hey,
Hey, can I hold on?
Yeah.
Hey, Zach, what are you doing right now? What are you up to? Simultaneous.
What's
to
happening
the
that's all
podcast.
displayed to us right now?
For 2 fucking days.
Yeah, wait.
What?
No,
How long? You're asking me what I've done in the last 2 days?
no. So
What
like,
the fuck?
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the Discord, and for some reason, it's saying that you're playing Magic: The Gathering Arena.
Oh, you got me. You got me.
Discord
man.
got
2
you.
days.
Discord doxed me on my nerd shit.
And that's what brings us to our
For 2
next segment.
fucking
We're
days?
talking MTG. All right.
Please no.
No.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
let's just say if you want to make money, you got to play days and days on end. And I make
Are
hundreds
you
of
making
thousands
money
of-
off of Magic: The Gathering?
How you doing that, dude?
I honestly don't think I can legally say right now in the position I'm.
Are you gambling
So if that's
on
not a
yourself
cop-out, I
in
don't know what
prize
is.
fights?
I'm
I'm sorry,
I put
Jacob.
some
Back
prizes,
to
yeah.
you.
Yeah, I was gonna
sure.
say, let's let Jacob get into it. We're gonna talk about some books, but I would like
Yeah,
for
we're
Jacob
not going to talk about this.
Wait,
So-
Jacob, did you say what your interpretation of the
Oh, no,
ending was?
no, I know. I don't
Now's
want
the
to.
time.
This sounds very pretentious, but the book pretty explicitly says what was going on, and that's
Oh no.
one reason why I love Charlie Kaufman so much is because I think with anytime you have a book or some sort of like other piece of media that's adapted into a movie, you always have that sort of schism where people are like, oh, the book is better, or oh, the movie's better. I think Charlie Kaufman is one of the only people who can take source material and adapt it into a movie and not only do it faithfully but make the content better, because the book is uh, I don't know how to word it. It takes this one central idea, which, by the way, Zach and Rob, between the two of you, you understood what was actually going on. That
Yeah,
somebody-
fucked everyone else.
Yeah.
Bro, smart like Jesse Plemons.
But yeah, the book is essentially just about this one sad janitor who is reflecting back on his life and all of the missed opportunity and things that he wished he would have done, and then ultimately he decides to kill himself. And then the book is sort of like, what it does is it'll have a chapter of narration from the young woman, and then it'll have a shorter chapter that's maybe like half a page long between two characters who we don't know who they are, talking about some incident that happened in a high school, and you don't know what exactly they're talking about. And then by the end of the book, you realize they're talking about the fact that the janitor killed himself in the school. Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah. So, but what I love about it is that it's very, very. The book is very, very dark because the literally the last lines of sort of monologue or narration in the book is the janitor like slitting his own throat and being like, my question's answered, I finally ended things, and that's the end of the book. So it's very, very, very dark, and that's why I love, Rob, that you said that there's this sort of comfort to the end of the movie, is because Charlie Kaufman takes this dark idea of building to a janitor killing himself, and it turns into this like warm, uplifting, like, instead of him just killing himself and that's it, we get sort of this transitionary, like him going into the afterlife and the last little bit of life fading out,
Right.
which I think we get in that hallway scene with the pig, and then the Nobel Prize and the Oklahoma.
The dance, even the dance was a big one. Yeah.
The dance is sort of, you could just watch the dance and
that gets the message across.
That's the point of the whole movie. It's Jesse, Jake and Lucy, we'll just say.
Mhm.
That's the idealized version of this janitor's life. That's the life that he wanted. And then the janitor in the dance coming in and fucking shanking Jake to death is a representation of, but you never fucking did that. You're a failure. You fucked up. Instead, you're a janitor now, and you're gonna die alone.
Right.
Like that. That's what that is, and I love that so much. Is that, and also in the book there was none of the parents were just normal parents. It was just an average dinner meeting. Charlie Kaufman went back and added this whole thing. The movie, what I took out of it is, I don't remember who said it, but it's the janitor imagining, what if I had this relationship with this girl? What would it have been like if I introduced her to my parents? And he's trying to craft like this ideal situation where he met his parents,
and it never
but-
works out.
and it never works out because
Yeah.
I was gonna say Zach gets the points for that.
because he had this very tense relationship with his parents. Like if you go back and you watch that entire farmhouse scene, David Thewlis never looks or acknowledges or talks to Jesse Plemons at all. They never have any interaction. Jesse Plemons will talk to his dad and interact with his dad,
Jacob,
but the dad never acknowledges that he's there.
Go back
And I
like
think
10 seconds. You cut out.
Okay. So David Thewlis never acknowledges Jesse Plemons. Jesse Plemons will talk to his dad and acknowledge his dad and all that, but the dad is constantly ignores him. Only
He's
ever
always looking at
talks.
Lucy.
Only ever talks to Lucy. And I think that feeds into like, well, maybe there was a problem with his dad. Maybe they never got along. Maybe the dad never understood him. The whole thing with the pigs and the maggots, he says my dad ignored them for so long, and it was only after he like got in and he lifted everything up did he see that they were infested with maggots. My dad never noticed that I was depressed. It was only after we had like things had gone on for so long and he finally tried to dig in and see what was up. Did he find out that I'm this horribly depressed person and that it's too late?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
talking about rabies, how like once it's in your brain or whatever at that point or whatever, it's too late. Like it's gone too far. And then he brings it up again with the maggots story. And that I felt is that whole theme of like his depression kind of like, eating away at him.
Exactly.
They also kind of like right in the beginning of the movie when it's her narration about like once you have this thought of I'm thinking of ending things,
it never goes away.
You
can't fake a thought.
Even if you don't really want to have the thought or it's like inconvenient to have the thought. It's just
if you are thinking about suicide, Buttery Mails will listen to you. Don't do it.
Here, call us up. We're establishing the
in all
Buttery Mails
seriousness
suicide hotline.
Yeah, definitely in all seriousness do that. We won't.
Let's just say
I'm not trying to make a joke.
We love everybody.
We
love you guys.
Yeah.
We don't want you to think of ending things.
I don't know if you're a cop.
Right. Exactly.
But yes, so that's sort of the gist of it. And every sort of little idiosyncratic thing it ultimately builds up to a metaphor for this janitor's depression and his desire to have been something more than what he ended up being, but his own insecurities and his own faults stopped him from doing it. And again, there's so much. Whenever you watch like any sort of art house movie, there's so much of like I'm just gonna put in like this random piece of bullshit to like throw them off and like get them talking about that. Oh, what does it mean? But there's not really any meaning there. Every little like tiny little weird thing that doesn't make sense does eventually make sense the more you analyze it and the more you get into it. And that's why I love this movie, and that's why I love Charlie Kaufman. Period.
So maybe I'm just sorry. Maybe I'm just picking up on this, or maybe it's just something. But one of the criticisms I hear about the movie A Beautiful Mind is that it's like not really accurate to John Nash wasn't really that good of a guy and everything like that. So maybe that's part of what that Jesse Plemons character like. Thinking everything's this, forcing everything.
He thought he was so good. He thought he was a good guy.
It's good that they're quoting. He's not even just quoting John Nash. He's quoting the
Beautiful Mind,
the idealized version. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How dare you disparage the great name John Nash or his son Jim Nash?
There's a line of dialogue in the first.
Lancaster.
That's true. Yeah, there's a line of dialogue in the very first scene when they're in the car where I don't remember what comes before it, but they talk about, I think Jesse Buckley says, you would die if you jumped off a train. They're talking about like, and
movies versus real life.
Movies versus reality. And that's, like we see the janitor watching like this idealized, romanticized movie. We see a lot of like, which also I just realized They Live is in his movie collection, and then that's all about questioning the reality around you, and that's again just another
thing is about
who can you trust.
Who can you trust?
They Live's the one with the glasses.
The one with the glasses, But so you would die if you jumped off a train, and they talk about how movies sort of idealize the everyday normal situations and fill you up with hope and all that. And then we see the janitor watching this like fake Bob Zemeckis movie that shows this idealized situation where the
Jacob
guy
knows it personally.
Still gets the
Bob.
girl.
where the guy is like, you don't understand, she has dreams and aspirations and I love her, and then she
That's enough.
falls.
Yeah,
And then
So funny.
but then she falls for him and everything's great in the end. And Jesse Plemons says, I suppose I watch too many movies. I fill my brain with lies to pass the time.
I'm so glad you brought that point up, because that was like a big note I had. I was like, but then you guys are bringing up like dementia and Alzheimer's, but it's true. Like, I think a big message in this movie was like, and they say it at this point, it's like humans don't know how to be human anymore. Like, we're trying to like fill in the blanks in our memories of how things should have went, and oh, I did this wrong, and oh, did I do that? And it's like, yeah, it's just weird. It feels like that whole ending scene, like, I honestly didn't put it together that it was like this old man like dying in his car, and like that whole scene at the end where he's doing his like speech and whatnot, like that does make sense that a man is dying. But it's true, like tying into this, like, you know, I don't know what reality is anymore, or how it operates. It's like everyone is like praising him, and he's like this great man, and he's just like, yep, this is how I see it. Like, this is how it would have been.
That's the ultimate. That's what he wanted out of his life. And
not necessarily.
That's like, please just let me have this to go out on.
But also, the one thing his mom keeps saying at dinner is that he's not like particularly. She's like, he's diligent.
He doesn't have any skill.
But and then just that ending
still so
scene.
proud of him.
That ending scene. She's not in the audience. She's like on stage with him, like fucking going, like losing her mind, clapping for him in that wig and everything like that. Like it's so fucking heightened to the like umpteenth. One other thing that's kind of heightened,
like guilt eating at him, that like it let her down the most, because she really did support him, even though he never, like, she's upstage with me. She's who I really.
Man.
Well, but no, I don't even think it's that. I think it's more a scenario of my mom told me I could do anything. My mom made me believe I could do anything, and look how I ended up. It was all a pack of lies.
It was all a dream.
Even with the another to the heightened thing, and then we can move on. Just with the heightened thing, there's that scene that just struck me so hard where I was like, so this actress just memorized like an Ebert or Roper like movie review for that John Katt. Oh, it's a Pauline Kael.
There's a book on the shelf.
Okay, gotcha. But it was this thing where I was like, yeah, but she's just saying it like it's. People don't fucking talk about the way we talk about this movie right now when we're talking about it is not at all the way she's talking about it. She's like, oh, I don't know, Cassavetes, the lack of sympathy. Yes, I don't know. It's just fucking,
she straight up changed her dialect in that scene,
and also pulled a cigarette out of nowhere
because she's mimicking Pauline Kael's voice and mannerisms.
I thought they were doing something there. I wasn't sure, but. Like, it just seemed so odd to me.
It felt like a bit out of nowhere. Like, they're doing it like a joke. And I'm like, wait, this doesn't fit in. This isn't a funny movie. There were funny
I would argue it's very funny.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I got like dark comedy way more than I got like horror, and maybe that is just the recent like overdose of Lynch that Rob and I have been doing, where it's like this is comfortable waters.
This was very like weirdly. I felt a lot of like David Lynch might love this, but also this is like kind of contrary to what I just. The manifesto I like subscribe to with him, with David Lynch specifically.
Yeah, Rob's got a manifesto also. Two of you guys have manifestos, by the way.
And apparently we're all mentioned in them.
Yeah, by name and address and phone number.
Social security
we're getting doxxed. I do like want to point out one more thing. So like throughout the movie, like from the very beginning, I mean, I guess everything's supposed to be out of sync, like just with everything, like their conversations, like their timing with entering conversations. It's kind of like this podcast a little bit. I just want to say, oh no, but I was kidding. But like I wrote down, and I sound like a surfer dude when I say this, but it's just like you're trying to like get a hold of the vibe the entire movie. Like the vibe seems like out of synchronicity, like everything's off. And like, so I just wrote, the real what this movie is actually about is the struggle of catching the perfect vibe with someone and riding it into shore doing a hang 10.
Yeah, bro.
And
Absolutely.
again, to
I
like sort
love
of bring it
that.
back to the fact that it's all about depression is, I think that if anyone who's ever been depressed knows, you have like a lot of swings in sometimes even your day-to-day life. You have like really high highs. There's moments where you feel like
Yeah.
it's normal. There's like crushingly low moments, and that's why I love it so much, is because it effortlessly goes between all of those emotions. It
Yes.
really captures that feeling of like being depressed and being stuck and being dissatisfied with who you are in your life, and it's just it's such a
Jake,
I
perfect
agree.
representation of that. I
Yeah.
love it so
Jacob.
much.
Jacob, can I'm curious. Did you like the movie better or the book better?
They're very different. The book is more horror, because again, there's interstitials of, oh man, did you hear about the fucked up thing that happened in high school? No, I don't know what it was. Oh yeah, no, it was a bloodbath, man. And like, so going into the book, I had no idea that it was meant to be this like metaphor about depression, and like, and that everything that had happened was all inside the head of this janitor character. But when I was done with it, I was like, no, that's really, really good. I really like that. I'm eager to see what Charlie Kaufman does with this, because like this is it. If you hadn't told me who wrote it, I would have assumed that it was him. But if I had to pick, I would rather watch the movie again, because it feels a little bit more like, even though it's equally dark, it still ultimately is about someone killing themselves because they're dissatisfied with their life and who they are, and my wonder years and what could have been. Like you even said, the movie handles it in much more of like a kind of a warm, melancholic kind of way, whereas
much like Hypothermia.
Yes,
Which they bring
It
up.
is it is comfortable in that moment, and like what I love about this movie,
yeah.
Sorry, just spike the fucking level.
well, especially like learning that.
And Jessie Buckley even says that when she's in the car, she's like, hypothermia is probably not a bad way to go if I have to go.
I wonder how long
Hypothermia
it
is like the
takes.
Stockholm syndrome of
Well, yeah,
ways of dying, because it's like, and that's how I felt with this
It's
movie too, was
like,
Stockholm
take
syndrome.
me.
Like this movie's
Well,
hypothermia.
and what's his name? David Thewlis in that scene in Jake's bedroom says, I'm just waiting for the dementia to get so bad that I can't remember
Yes.
I have dementia. It's this level, and I don't mean to like glorify giving in, but it's like, it is this thing where it's like giving in at a certain point when you've been bent over backwards forever,
Mhm.
like trying to resist it. It is that hypothermia thing. It's like, take me, just take me. I'm gonna make it as easy for you as possible. I'm gonna let you take me in this moment,
So, yeah, for sure. I guess my question here is, and I don't mean to like prolong it too much, is like the way the movie makes us feel a little bit more comforted by it. Is it kind of like irresponsible, like suicide? Is this like Charlie Kaufman's version of 13
Is
Reasons
this a
Why for
13?
Netflix?
Yeah, okay. There you
Like,
go.
did he? To me, it's like, I mean, the way it's just you're describing in the book, where I'm like, well, so what I would like to say, the one thing I was thinking of there was just that it's like, well, I don't know if they go out of their way to make that specific point in the movie, but like that point they make at the beginning there, it's like once this thought sets in, it like never leaves you or whatever, and it's like, that's a pretty dark.
Yeah.
You gotta, if you're having suicidal ideation, like you need to like see somebody and talk to somebody, and with that, hopefully that leaves you and everything like that. Like hopefully you get better than that. But I don't think the movie goes.
At the Buttery Mails podcast. We'll help you out.
And I get, and
I would not recommend this movie to someone who I thought was going
on the edge. Yeah, if he was on the edge of a bridge,
Thor
you wouldn't
Ragnarok,
play
I'd be
this.
like,
Yeah.
eat some mushrooms, watch Thor Ragnarok, like, you'll be fine.
Wait, did you say Thor Frazzle Drip?
Oh
no! I think does like kind of, I think it gives it a little bit of like stank on it, where it's like, this is like an old man at the end of his rope. Luckily we're like young and we have a lot to live for and to go forward.
I don't feel like the movie does a whole lot of once again, that's just a question I wanted to pose there, not in a way of blaming the movie, just for the sake of discussion or anything like that. But in general, I do, especially with Netflix having also done the fiasco that was 13 Reasons Why, which we also talked about.
Right.
It's just one of those things where it's like, you guys, between getting kids to kill themselves and then, maybe doing cuties and giving pedophiles a whole lot of work, you guys need to figure out the message you're sending out there.
Cuties might be overreaction by Twitter. I'm just saying.
Rob's just stroking it.
But to answer the question, I don't think so.
You think it's responsible.
I think that the movie handles it in a very responsible. I think the book is much more
a fantasy
of like almost to like, and they it's a very, 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 very fine line they ride in the movie, because Jesse Plemons has a line towards the end where they're talking about, I forget the name of the guy, but they're talking about an author who killed himself, and Jesse Plemons says
David Foster Wallace.
The act becomes the story.
Well, that's my whole thing. There's multiple moments in the movie where Jesse Plemons is either doing something which I felt repulsive that I was called out by, where I was like, oh, that might be me in a way, and I got to look at that. Or he was talking about somebody in a way where I was like, fuck, that is, I knew about David Foster Wallace because the Jason Segel movie that probably only got made because the story ends with this guy being a tortured artist that kills him. I was like, that's me right there that he's talking about. I was like, I felt ethered.
I wrote down, last week we talked about H.P. Lovecraft, and Jacob Demansky said, that's the one thing people know about H.P. Lovecraft, even if they haven't read his stuff, is that he was a racist.
His cat's name.
Yeah, his cat's really cool name.
Yeah, his cat's really cool name. Specifically. But no, it is this thing where it's like, the author is this weird prevailing zeitgeist being that is like, I haven't read of H.P. Lovecraft's work or any of David Foster Wallace's works in completion, but I do know that about that. It's like I can confidently 100% say that. I know those two things about those two people.
Yeah. Well, not to just make the ultimate trifecta of like broy douchebags here, but like Hunter Thompson did have a big thing that at one point.
God,
he had a big thing.
Is this Joe Rogan? Is this Joe Rogan experience? I'm taking tea every morning, dude.
No. Apologizing now.
Yeah, let me spread some misinformation about some bonfires real quick. No, my point was more so Hunter Thompson. He got so. A big part of what he would do was put himself into the story. That's what made his stuff, the entire idea of gonzo journalism and the whole thing so appealing, was that it's like a specific POV on a thing that is supposed to be objective or whatever. But as he got more famous
and high on drugs,
as he became famous and like more of like this rock star lifestyle that he liked to live and everything like that, it became harder for him to like actually be the journalist aspect of it, because he became the story. When he was used to kind of making it his story retroactively,
right? Yeah.
Now he can't even just have the.
Well, it isn't. It's no longer the dirt bike race that Hunter S. Thompson is like, reporting on. It is Hunter S. Thompson is at this dirt bike.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's interesting.
Yeah, no. To all that is to say, I think the book, I think, is not based in ideation, but it's definitely more prevalent. I think the movie is, it puts you in this, it takes you and puts you in this little glass box and says, you're going to watch this old man's life fall apart from the perspective of inside his brain for the next 2 hours. And by the end of it, you're going to know what it's like to be suicidal and have crippling depression, is what I think the movie is trying to communicate. The book is more of a, there's this mystery and what's going on with these two characters, and then big plot twist, they're the same person and he killed himself. The book is way more simple and kind of playful with the dark aspect of it. So I think if anything, the book might tread a little bit more towards the point of ideation. I think the movie is more of like just here's what it's like to live with all of these horrible thoughts inside your head all the time, and there's nothing you can do to make them stop.
Awesome. Nice. And that was
and on a really bright and chipper note.
Awesome. Nice.
But I'm struggling to put like a number in out of 10 to it or whatever. But
Mhm.
I think Jake.
Well, also
I
only
think
less
we-
than
we
10
don't have a-
movies have come out this year.
12, aren't we? Out of 12s?
well, yeah, we're doing it out of 12. That's a whole thing.
Yeah.
No, I think we're going about it out of the whack ass, out of nowhere ranking system that Jake Demansky did it earlier. Out of
Hey.
10.
Fucking idiot.
I think I'm probably somewhere in like 7.5, 8 range there, which is
Nice,
like.
that's what I said. We're in the whole. I'm
Hand holding
not going.
corner.
I'm not going.
Yeah, do it.
Eight
Rob
out of
Lowe.
10.
Rob Lowe.
Episode content there with everyone.
Yeah, no, we actually did.